Greetings, friends. Do you travel often? Perhaps you've been to Rome. It's a pillar of our civilization, isn't it? The aqueducts alone inspire immense awe. Just think about it. Historians estimate construction began in the 3rd century BC. Yes, the great empire built cyclopean, mind-boggling structures, some reaching 250 kilometers in length, sometimes 30 to 50 meters high. There are 11 of them in total. Now look at them. Just look. Enormous, tall, powerful, stone, solid. Some made of stone, some of Roman concrete. That's what historians say. The Pont du Gard, France, is a massive 3-tiered bridge. The aqueduct in Segovia, Spain, is a 2-tiered bridge built without mortar. The Aqua Virgo, Rome, is still in operation, feeding the Trevi Fountain. Are you impressed? Of course. So much stone, so much work, so much craftsmanship. For what? For baths and fountains? But let's think about it. Is it worth it? Just think about it. The first thing that surprises me is why build such high arches to move water? After all, a pipeline could be laid underground. Why lift millions of tons of stone into the sky? Was there a need? Let's take the Pont du Gard aqueduct in southern France. It's the tallest aqueduct, 49 meters long. For comparison, that's the height of a modern 16-story building. Its length is 275 kilometers, a 4-hour drive. Consider the cost-benefit ratio. The work itself took millions of hours. The logistics were incredibly complex, as stone had to be quarried, processed, and heavy lifted. And this was just the rough labor of a laborer. Why? Water is the source of life. But water can be supplied without such a complex, cumbersome, and tedious system. Let's remember physics, the law of communicating vessels. This is the basis on which any water supply system operates. If the source in the mountains is located above the discharge point in the city, the water will reach the consumer by gravity. It doesn't need a bridge, it needs a sealed pipe. If a pipe is laid across a depression or ravine, the water will rise to the same height, almost, minus friction losses. This is the principle of the siphon. The pressure in a pipe depends on the difference in elevation between the source and the consumer, not on how high the pipe is laid. Water doesn't care whether it flows through arches or on the ground. It's just ABC. The bottom line, here we see a design that common sense can't explain. It's absurdly extravagant. Yes, historians will say, slaves built it, countless of them. That's the greatness of the empire. Chic, glitter, fanfare.
Nonsense. Slaves also need to be fed. Stones have to be quarried somewhere. Then these stones, or concrete, the special Roman kind, must be transported to the construction site, to an open field, and only then will the unfortunate slaves begin building your aqueduct. Before that, it's essential to construct high platforms, ramps, and scaffolding. Incidentally, this also requires wood, delivery, and assembly. So here's the question. What roads were used to deliver these goods, and how? By cart? Wooden wheels covered with tin? Horses or oxen? How much could such a freight part carry? 300, 500 kilograms? And how many trips would you have to make if you counted all the stone, concrete, water? Thousands? Millions? Then where are the remains of the roads? Each such site must have a particularly durable road. Anyone who's ever sat on the bottom of their sedan in sand or clay, who has struggled with planks, sticks, and jacks, knows what I mean. To swim, you must swim, said Mao Zedong. To drive, you need roads. Is that logical? But for some reason, there are no roads. The empire, famous for its cobblestone roads, somehow built nothing here. Third point, precise slope and gravity. To make us admire the greatness of the ancient masters, we're told that the slope of these aqueducts is 35 centimeters per kilometer. No, let's simplify. That's 3.5 millimeters per 10 meters. Roughly, the entire difference in level is the thickness of a matchstick for 10 meters, or a cut fingernail. Can you even imagine such precision? Listen, friends, if you've ever built a bathhouse yourself, remember the complexity of the drainage system, the sloping floor. Have you ever done it? For example, in my case, the entire slope went to hell in the very first winter because the frost pushed out my heel-shaped supports and skewed the bathhouse. A couple of centimeters and water gushed toward the stove, to the dry wood. What a stroke of luck! Well, you understand the point of my post. You can't force slaves to build structures with such precision. Even if they had lasers, they wouldn't have been able to cope. It's not the right scale. The volume doesn't match the capabilities. Just imagine you have a vegetable garden or a garden, and you need to supply water for irrigation. Who would put poles higher than electric ones for this and lay a hose there at pigeon flying height? Why? And the poles aren't ordinary ones, they're stone. You'd be exhausted building. And most importantly, what's the point? If the hose lays perfectly on the lawn, all it takes is pressure. Another complexity that almost no one pays attention to is the stones and concrete themselves. These aqueducts, arches, and tunnels aren't just bricks. They're not just blocks. No. Anyone who looks closely will discover polygonal masonry. That's 1. Blocks weighing 5 or 10 tons. That's 2. And traces of crude repairs by modern craftsmen. That's 3. What is polygonal masonry? It's a mystery of Peru. The blocks are most likely cast from geopolymer concrete, which is hardened and is indistinguishable from real stone. What are these 5-ton blocks? Were they hauled by slaves again? Or a herd of army elephants? And somehow, using levers and lifting mechanisms, they were transported to the site? Sounds crazy. And dragging a granite block through a swamp for 500 kilometers? Isn't that crazy? But there are 20,400 of these granite blocks here, almost 21,000, and no one can lie down on a standard ox cart. No way. Again, we see a picture that doesn't align with reality. And a clear indicator of this theoretical flaw is the patches on an old dress slapped on by modern craftsmen, repairing aqueducts with bricks and mortar. It's immediately noticeable. This is our level, 20th century technology.
And the question immediately arises, who built all this if not the Romans?
Enough with these tall tales. People can do anything if they want, the skeptic will say. Look, people built a temple using old technology, without modern tools, without diamond discs to prove the greatness of the old masters. This temple is Swaminarayan Akshardham in the town of Robbinsville, USA. No steel, no iron frames, no cement, no dry assembly. Open since 2023. And he's right, it was built, but in 12 years, through the efforts of 12,000 volunteers. The temple was built by master craftsmen, about 300 stonemasons who lived there with their families, but the most important thing no one will tell you is how much it cost the architects. After all, the stone was brought from Italy and Bulgaria, and it wasn't transported to the construction site on sailboats or oxen, but on existing U.S. roads. You have to admit, these are completely different things. So yes, respect to the craftsmen, a bow to them, but the temple has now become the main sanctuary for Hinduism in the United States. It brings in good profits as a tourist attraction. And what profit did the aqueducts leading to Rome bring in? How much did a ticket to the baths cost? Perhaps senators got discounts? No, it doesn't work. Besides, here's another riddle. Historians say the aqueducts were built from volcanic tuff and held together with the famous Roman concrete. It sounds convincing, but volcanic tuff is hardened ash, porous and thirsty for water. If you channel water through porous stone, you'll suffer enormous losses. The water will simply disappear into the stone. So, should we take a closer look at the chipped areas of our gutters? And here's a discovery. The stone structure is uniform. There's no protective layer. So maybe it's not tuff at all, or geopolymer concrete.
Then everything will fall into place. However, we have to admit that such volumes of artificial stone couldn't be mixed in a basin with an old shovel. No, these are factory-produced industrial volumes. And the final nail in the coffin of the official theory. It turns out that in some places our aqueducts, or what historians call aqueducts, are covered with clay and a layer of soil several meters deep. Several meters! Why? No, it's clear that historians have "there's a prayer," a cultural layer. Look at the photos of excavations in the Parco degli Acquedotti in Rome. The arches extend 5 to 7 meters into the ground. That's 3 stories. The Romans lived with unique aqueducts and were buried in mud? Why build arches and decorate their pylons only to let this beauty sink under a layer of rubble? Hence the conclusion, an obvious solution to our puzzles. The Romans didn't build this. The lead pipes that remain here and there were lifted onto arches and gutters, not by Roman slaves. These pipes bend easily and weigh a lot. Roman craftsmen simply couldn't cast them high up, on site. There was no such technology, and there isn't any today. Besides, why the double work? If there's a stone aqueduct, a channel, then why the pipe? No, these aren't aqueducts. These are the lost technologies of our ancestors, washed away by the Great Flood, and that same flood brought several meters of clay and debris. Later, new inhabitants discovered the old buildings and structures, but couldn't understand their purpose. They adapted them to their needs as best they could. A grandiose structure, which could have been a source of energy, became an aqueduct. The grandiose logistical junctions near Paris were mistaken for catacombs. That's just how humans work. By the way, your cars have batteries. Could you remind me if they contain lead? What a strange coincidence. You'll agree there's a lot to think about here. But we all have the right to believe what we like best, what we prefer. If someone prefers the theory that the Romans spent hundreds of years building cyclopean structures, disregarding cost and common sense just to supply water, then let them have aqueducts. All the best, friends.